Mic'd up.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Yankees Coast to Coast with your host, Michael Snyder and David, and Michael Schneider and Adam Miller. How did I screw that up? How do I mess up
Dyslexia. I have no idea, but it's good to see you back from assignment where you were yesterday.
I was on assignment. Yes, I was in Yemen on
You were negotiating a trade.
negotiating the peace treaty.
The peace
Trying
treaty.
very hard to help
I thought
those.
I thought you'd work on the EU trades. I don't know. Whatever.
There it is. I'm there. It's me and Marco Rubio. He's the only person I know who's shorter than I am. Anywho.
I don't know that he is shorter than you, but okay. Anyhow, so yesterday I went through the pitching stuff that we had talked about while you were on assignment and gave out a quick, 30 minutes worth of grades and basically ended up talking about Boone and his overuse of Loizaga and blah, 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 and all those other things that have been going on with regard to the Yankees. And then, at some point when we talked yesterday when you were on assignment, we talked about what we were going to talk about today. And today the plan was to talk about the Yankees' needs, which were pretty obvious: third base, relief pitching, and starting pitching, not necessarily in that order. Matter of fact, last night I said that it was relief pitching and then starting pitching and then third base. But as it turns out, the Yankees had their own plans.
Mm-hmm.
And they made their deal today. I just wanted to say that the Yankees getting out in front and making a deal, if they're going to make a deal, the competition for a third baseman was Milwaukee, the Dodgers, the Mets, the Cubs, the Astros, and the Mariners. Yeah. So there was a lot of teams out there, all with better minor league systems than the Yankees.
Correct.
And a team that's willing to pay anything that anybody wants, in the Dodgers. So the Yankees went out and they traded for Ryan McMahon, who's a guy that neither one of us really wanted the Yankees to get. So let's talk a little bit about what the Yankees gave up, which we both agree was not a lot. We talked briefly earlier today. They gave up their number 8 prospect, Griffin Herring, not pickled herring, not the fish. 22-year-old lefty that was a 6th-round pick out of LSU.
Mm-hmm.
He blew
through. What year?
What?
Recent, right? Last year or 2 years?
24. And this season, he's blown through low A in Tampa and is at Hudson Valley. His ratings are, he's a 50 out of 60 is how they rate them. I can't figure that system out. But he's got a plus fastball. In 89 innings, he's had 102 strikeouts. But what's amazing is for a lefty and a young lefty, he's only got 3.6 walks per 9. And he's only allowed 56 hits, and he doesn't allow the long ball. So there is potential. There is potential there, but quite frankly, he's the number 8 Yankee prospect.
But that's been burning them in the last few years. There's depth in there, and it's not like they're taking on $48 million of. It seems.
Well, we didn't get to the second guy yet, though. That's Josh Gross or Graz. I don't know how you pronounce it. Grosz. He'll be 23 in September. He was a 23 draft pick in the 11th round. Last year, he blew through single A, low A, Hudson Valley, high A, and Somerset. But this year, he's been in high A all season.
So he got sent back down.
Well, he didn't do very well. I think he went up, after everybody got traded and all the different things that they did. They needed a pitcher. So he's been at Hudson Valley. He's got a plus fastball, but his rankings are not as good as pickled herring. But he's also got for a young guy, good 9.7 strikeouts per 9 and only 3.6 walks per 9. But quite frankly, the 21st Yankee prospect is not anything anybody's going to be writing home about. They didn't give up very much. So the question is not what do they give up, although obviously it could come back to bite them. Both Herring and Gross are expected to be Major League ready in 27. So you've got a year and a half before they're going to be seen at the Major League level. Mm-hmm. And they're going to be in Colorado and pitchers. So take that for what it's worth. But what did they get? Like you said, they took on $4.5 million this year, $16 million in 26, and $16 million in 27.
Is it only 4 this year? I guess that's
4.5. It's prorated to 4.5 this year.
All right. So we're looking at 16 and 16. You said.
Yeah, 16 and 16, and then the question. Is he worth 16 a season? That really is what it comes down to.
I mean, there's certain aspects of him that are appealing. I do like that he's a plus defender. I have to say that's more important to me right now. Everybody, everybody's talking about the Yankees need hitting. The Yankees don't have a hitting problem. The Yankees have an approach problem. They aren't good enough all the time. They don't they don't adapt to the game that they're playing. If they hit a lot of home runs, they win. If they don't hit a lot of home runs, they lose. If Judge hits a home run, they win. If he doesn't, they lose. They have these tendencies to fall off the radar.
Actually, that's one of the things that I was going to hit on as well. Is my issues with the acquiring McMahon is not his defense, obviously, and his offense can't be as bad as as it's been at third base. But and they didn't give up very much. But the question is the long term fit as opposed to
Yeah,
getting a rental. And as far
more
as
the
cost
concern.
of money, the problem I have is the Yankees, like you said, have an approach issue, right? So if they keep McMahon for the full length of his contract, they now have a high strikeout, low on base percentage player.
Mm-hmm.
Just add that to Volpe as a high strikeout guy, Wells, a high strikeout guy, Rice, a high strikeout guy, Dominguez, a high strikeout guy, and Jazz, a high strikeout guy. Jazz is a high strikeout guy, but he doesn't count. And then Stanton, who's hurt all the time, but is also a high strikeout guy. So, from an approach standpoint, which is what you're talking about, and what I also believe the Yankees are in trouble for, what is this guy going to bring to the table? Also, by the way, Jones is a high strikeout guy if he comes up as well. Lombard Jr. is a high strikeout guy right now in the minors after not
Yep.
being one for the first couple of years that he was the top prospect. So, from an approach standpoint, McMahon is going to be another guy that is the cookie cutter. Let's hit home runs. Let's not worry about anything else. Um, and I think that from that perspective, it's a bad fit for the Yankees. And that's just off his whole stats, not just off of his I'm from Colorado stats, right? So you go with a whole bunch of different things with regard to him, especially after the fiasco that was, Toronto defensively, and seems to not have stopped. So his career home OPS, which is in Colorado, is 818 with a strikeout rate of 27.9% and a walk rate of 10.5. On the road, he's got an OPS of 664, a strikeout rate of 30.2, and 10.5 walk rate. That is for his career. He's a high strikeout guy. This year, he's got a 32% strikeout rate, by the way. What's interesting, and this is the other thing that I pulled, is his pull rate. In 23, he was a 13.9% pull hitter with a home run percentage of 3.7. Last year, he was 11.1% and 3.1 home run. This year, he's an 18.8% pull hitter with a 4% home run rate. So, one of the questions that we sort of went back and forth about, and Steve Bonomo made a really good point in our text string, was could he be Didi, who comes in and gets better, or will he be Joey Gallo?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anything can be as bad as Joey Gallo. There's just colossally terrible player, bad on every level, bad head, bad body. Let's just say, you know, all hat, no cattle. you know, so that to me wasn't going to work. So I don't think that's going to be the case. I think what we're going to see is a guy who plays a great third base, which I think is
He's not great. He's good.
he's good, but he rates a high percentage, high among the leaders.
Yeah, he's
I
plus.
think,
He's plus four above runs above average.
and I think that on a team that focuses on the sinker and has Freed are always going to be a necessary part of the reason this team is where it is because their infield defense has been terrible this year. So it's they need somebody who can pick up the ball. The fact that they've had guys who can't hit play third base and not play good third base this year.
I don't
That's
disagree.
been
Peraza made his first error there the other day.
No, I think Peraza had a bad week, and I just got to tell you, it was getting painful. The noise, I think sooner or later it was just hanging on him, and he had to go. This is a move that I'm okay with this year, but my problem with this move is what you said earlier. Now we're stuck for 2 years with 2 more years of this contract. Um, And what we're going to have is this endless home run mindset. They're never going to get out of this position, this all or nothing thing, and they just continued it again. They basically just said we're going to double down on who we are, and it's just not good enough. Not good enough against great pitching, and not good enough in the playoffs. This is basically assuring a mindset that gets them through, if lucky, the first round, rarely the second round, and certainly never the third round.
Yeah, I mean, put it this way: Didi, when he got to the Yankees, his 3 years previous to being a Yankee, his OPS plus was 62, 94, 81. He got to the Yankees, and he was 89, 97, 106, 124, and 87. So, and McMahon has been between 90 and 95 for the last 5 seasons.
In the best hitting ballpark on the planet.
Right. But let's just put it this way. Peraza's at 25 this year. Oh. Vivas is at 48. And Cabrera is at 78 before he got hurt, but 80 for his career. So if McMahon could have the same level of production, which is going to be a challenge, it's going to be better than those guys, and it's not going to be a drop off on defense. But as you said, and as I've said, there's a lot of problems with him for next year. His fit in the lineup means that the Yankees are not really ever going to look to fix the problem that they have offensively.
Who's 503 on the? Is that who's 503? Is that
might be Bonamo?
Is that Bonamo?
It might be.
The Yankees need to be sellers.
Well, I can't tell you why he said that, but that's a different story.
I know someone dropped the ball. They should have caught it because you just made a defense comment.
Well, yeah, and then Weaver allowed a 3-run homer. So anyhow, the Yankees need to be sellers. Bonamo, our guy who was defending McMahon now. But the other half of it, the Yankees are not looking to change anything. And that's not a good thing because we all know what their problem is offensively. So he's not going to fit in the lineup. There's another piece that's a problem here, right? Now, as far as third basemen go, he's not a high-paid third baseman, right? If you look at it this way, DJ was making 15 if you count him as a third baseman. And down in the Yankees minor league system, you've got Candelario, who the Reds are paying $15 million, right? But Bregman's at 40. Rendon for the Angels is at 35. Arenado goes down to 16 and 15, so he's equivalent. But I'd actually rather have McMahon than Arenado, but I don't really want either. Machado, who's having a great year, is at 31.8. Devers, who's not even a third baseman, is at 31. Chapman's at 25.2. Baez, who also is not really a third baseman, is at 23. And Austin Riley's at 21. And then the bargain of the century, Jose Ramirez, is at 20.1. So he's not overpaid for a third baseman. But the problem is the Yankees spending $16 million on him. What's the impact it's going to have on Hal and his self-imposed, I don't want to pay the cone tax? Are they going to be able to bring back Bellinger, who's clearly going to opt out after this season and want more than the $25 million that he gets as his player option? And is this going to prevent them from bidding on a guy like Tucker? So you've got the Yankees from a monetary standpoint, which is hard to say. They're tying up $16 million on a just above replacement level player. Now, third base has become a very weak position in baseball. There's the top tier guys like your Jose Ramirez's and your Bregmans, who also I didn't think at $40 million, that's a way overpay. Machado's at 30, almost $32 million, and Chapman at 25, he doesn't hit. But, what do the Yankees have? What are their options there? There really were no other options, and they didn't give up very much. But I'm concerned, like you are, he doesn't fit. He doesn't improve the lineup. He doesn't improve the puzzle. A lineup, as I've been saying, is a puzzle. You have to have certain types of players that do certain things. No, you don't want anybody to have under a 300 on-base percentage, Anthony Volpe, but you can have a guy who's got a 310 on-base percentage and a 320 on-base percentage as long as you have other guys who have a 350 and a 340 on-base percentage. And I'm taking Judge out of the equation because he just has to be, because that's what he is, right? You need to have a guy like a Bellinger who's got an 850 OPS. You got to have a guy, even a guy like Goldschmidt, who's got an 800 OPS. You got to have guys like that, but you have to have guys that get on base. And you have to have a guy at the top or even the number 2 hitter as well that's going to get on base. And the Yankees don't have that. Do they think Dominguez is going to turn into that? That at least is an open question. Volpe's not going to turn into that. That's for damn sure. Um, there was a stat that they showed on the game tonight. I think it was 1,800 at bats. Players with 1,800 at bats, their last 1,800 at bats, and Volpe is one of 76 players that have that. He's got the lowest batting average and the lowest on base percentage and the lowest OPS of anybody who's had 1,800 bats over like the last 3 seasons.
It's amazing. They really need to sit him to get him down. Either sit him or send him down. The problem is they don't have a shortstop. Who's
So
their backup shortstop?
that
I
was
guess that's
actually one of the
Peraza.
things
I guess
before they made
Peraza.
right before they made the McMahon trade. I was thinking that they could possibly look at bringing in a rental, a cheap rental, a guy like a Ahmad Rosario, who's a professional baseball player, probably not a terrific fielder anymore, probably not a terrific hitter anymore, but he's a professional player. You know what you're going to get. He's going to make the routine plays, and just let Volpe go down like the Mets did with Alvarez.
It was a very smart move. And
And
again, because the Mets are well managed. The Mets are
well,
well
they have
general
Stearns, and
managed.
he's not tied to this. Oh, all I have is money, and this is how I'm going to go through life with my money
Yeah.
mentality.
This is a team that knows how to do what they need to do. Yankees don't. The Yankees have a stale general manager. They have an owner who must have sex pictures that are being distributed in the Cashman family, because I just I don't understand what on earth is keeping him with this team other than 25 years of loyalty. That doesn't make any sense to me anymore. The guy's out of touch.
I
I don't
think he's going nowhere. He's like a son. He's
you
like
know, then move him up. Move
that's
him
what
to
I. That's the
president.
only
We've
way
been
he's
talking
going.
about this forever. Make him president of baseball operations. Give him an emeritus role. They did it to Stevie Donahue. They can do it to him. And then what they do is bring in like a real general manager who knows how to work, how to run a baseball team
Bring,
today in
bring in.
2025.
I would say bring in the guy that was Stearns' assistant in Milwaukee, but he is now the GM in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Um, it's.
So
I mean, I would bring in even a guy. There's teams that are built the right way. The teams that the Yankees have had trouble with are teams that make high levels of contact. Toronto, right?
that's terrible.
The Dodgers in the World Series.
Hard to watch. These teams have played so well against them.
And the Brewers,
Hurt.
the Diamondbacks are those types of teams. And the Cubs this year transitioned into being one of those types of teams this year. And the Yankees are not doing that. That's the next level of play that the Yankees need to, or the next transition they need to make. I'm not thinking they need to break it down, but I don't want to destroy the whole thing, but I think
But
that
they don't have to destroy the whole thing. They've got a great foundation for another year or two with Judge. I mean, how much longer? I really pray that Judge doesn't age, because he's 33 now, and it's very sad that this great generational talent, this obviously the greatest player you and I have ever seen on the Yankees, um, you know having basically fired.
I think that Mattingly for a stretch was better than Judge.
Mattingly, I'd say.
But we'll see if Judge can do it. I mean, obviously, Mattingly had 4 years where he was just the best player in
There
baseball.
was no question.
So we'll see.
And they still did his thing.
Judge is working on his 4th year right now.
He's my favorite, and Mattingly was my favorite. Bobby Mercer is my favorite as a kid, but this guy is unreal, and what he's doing is very special. And unfortunately, he plays for a team that doesn't deserve it.
They're not building the correct team around him, and that's
so I'm okay with breaking it up. I think the way you break it up is you keep, you need to make various changes. First of all, if they don't have a real leadoff hitter next season, this team, they're mired going to be the same team they are now, year after year.
But trading for this guy, how does anybody think that they're going to make any type of philosophical changes to their offensive mentality so that they do this? I mean, the fact that Judge bats second for an extra 35 at bats a season, which is what you get as a number 2 hitter as compared to a number 3 hitter, is just ridiculous, especially when the bottom of your order is hitting 145 or 211, like Volpe and Peraza are doing. There's not enough guys on base, not enough traffic there.
Yeah.
It's just the whole thing is just out of control with regard to this, and there's no philosophical change coming, at least not evidenced by this trade. If this was a trade, and even with what they gave up, if this trade was for a rental McMahon,
Yeah.
it would be great.
Fine.
That's fine
Fine.
because they're already down the boat for this season.
The thing is that I have is that what next year, let's just say um, Lombard comes out with a ridiculous spring training again. He adds a little muscle, gets some size, suddenly comes back and he's ready. Where are they going to put him? Where are they going to put him? They're going
Third,
to put him at third base and let him, and they're going to platoon 16 million.
no, they're going to
Or
do
they,
second base. They're going to put him at. I don't know where they're going to put him. You got a good point on your head because now they're stuck with McMahon, and Jazz has got another year left, and Volpe is there. So unless they're you and
that
I,
means Volpe's got to go. Volpe's the
I
odd man
think
out.
Lombard. Personally, I don't think Lombard's going to be ready. Not the way he's performing down at the minor league
Maybe
level.
not.
So the
Maybe
other,
not. But and
the
then
other,
how about this? Are they going to bring up? They bring up Jones for a cup of coffee this year. You know?
well, what's interesting to me is watching the game against the Phillies tonight. The Phillies have a big glaring weakness. It would be better for the Phillies if he was right-handed, but are desperate for an outfielder.
Mm-hmm.
If they can take Grisham with them when they leave town on Sunday, that would be ideal.
Why are they keeping Grisham? Grisham has more value now than he's ever going to have.
And they're going to lose him
No
for nothing.
way. They think he's got a ceiling. I don't know where they don't. They must think he's got more in the tank, and I don't see it.
Having a career season.
That's when you trade him. Next year he's back to being 200.
Doesn't matter what he is next year. He's not on the Yankees next. There's no way he could be on the Yankees next year. He will not be on the Yankees next year. He's
So
free.
why not trade him?
Right. That's my point exactly. They need to get him out of here now. The Phillies are desperate. There's a couple other teams that are desperate. If he was right-handed, the Phillies would be jumping on him. And they don't have to get very much for him. Maybe they get back, the Phillies number 8 and 21 prospects, but it's a rental, so who knows? But they're desperate for an outfielder in Philadelphia. And that would be great. But they're not going to do it. The other thing is, like I said, is $16 million going to McMahon going to be painful to the Yankees and Hal's pocketbook such that Bellinger is not a possibility and Tucker is no longer a guy that they can even make a good bid on.
Well, also, doesn't this push them over the very angry that the
right, which is another reason why they should trade. Another reason they should trade Grisham now.
So this is what I heard a bit. All I heard was that they didn't want to go this high. They didn't want to spend more money. So they just did on a player that doesn't fit their long-term needs.
Well, no, he fits their long-term needs because their long-term needs are not defined the same way that our long-term needs, how we would define the long-term needs for the Yankees. He fits exactly what the Yankees want. He's exactly what they want. That's the problem. He's exactly what they want. They're not going to change their philosophy with regard to what type of offensive player they want. So, all right. So I think we beat it to death with regard to McMahon, that we like him for this year, but the damage that's going to be done going forward is not good.
Yeah, I don't see it, and my feeling on this one is I do not want them to. I told this on our pre-call yesterday when we didn't really do the show together, but you and I did get on for a second and talk about this. I don't think that this team warrants making any moves at this point that are going to significantly upgrade them, and the reason why is because the cost is going to be prohibitive. I don't think you want to give up Jones. I don't think you want to give up Lombard. I don't think you want to give up, Schlittler. I don't think you want to give these guys up that may have some potential. They don't want to. Who's that kid in the minor leagues they think is going to be a sure thing? They don't want to give him up. They're just. It's at this point nothing they do is going to, unless it is
right.
Amazing. They get 3 arms. They get 3 pitching. They get 3 guys in the bullpen. They get a starter. And I don't think they need to do anything else with the offense.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. By the way, the guy you're talking about is Manny Cedeno. He's the 16-year-old that they signed.
No,
Cuba.
that's it. But I don't mean him. There's a couple pictures they really like.
Well, there's a couple of pitchers they really like. I mean, they've got Lagrange that they love.
Lagrange, that's it.
They've got Ben Hess that they love, who's just coming back from Tommy John surgery. They've got Chase Hampton, who's out with Tommy John surgery. And they've got Selvage, who they really like as well, who is, Griffin Herring is ranked higher than Hampton and Selvage right now. And Lane is the other guy they like. He's their 14th.
But they don't want to give these guys. I don't want them giving these guys up for an expensive reboot for the seat or a
I
rental
agree.
for the
You can't give up those.
just
You can't give
just
up those guys to the
take
rent.
it.
No,
This is the
I wouldn't give
team
up
you
the guys.
go with.
I don't give up any of. I don't give up any of these guys for rental. I don't give up. I wouldn't even give up Rice for rental. And I'm a guy that thinks that Rice should be dealt, but I wouldn't give him up for a rental. I wouldn't give up Dominguez for a rental. I wouldn't give up Lombard for a rental. I wouldn't give up Jones for a rental. I wouldn't give Volpe for a rental either, but he's not even close to being traded. And then as far as the pitchers go, I would make sure they keep out of these six guys that we're talking about, which is LeGrand, Schlittler, Bryce Cunningham, Ben Hess, Chase Hampton, and Selvage, who are their top six, and Lane, who are their top seven guys. I would not give up more than, I would definitely keep five of those guys before I would give up. I could give up a couple of them for a rental if it's the right rental. Now, speaking of relief pitching, the Mets made a great deal today. The deal the Yankees now maybe Baltimore wouldn't deal with the Yankees, but the Mets gave up two non-top 30 prospects.
And got freaking Cano.
I got Greg Soto from the Orioles, who's a high strikeout guy. Experienced.
No, they got Cano. Wasn't it Cano?
No, they got Soto.
Oh, I thought they got Cano.
No, they got Soto.
All right.
So, and that's a great pickup.
Do they have two Sotos now? What the hell
yeah,
is that?
they do have. I guess they do have two Sotos now. But they got Greg Soto, who's would have been a left-handed reliever who's experienced in the playoffs with the Phillies. He's experienced in the playoffs, last year with the Orioles. He's a good pitcher, and he's a rental. And they didn't give up anything of meaning. They gave him a single-A pitcher and a double-A pitcher who were not even in their top 30 prospects. That's the type of deal the Yankees need to be making. Now they gave up their 8 and their 21 for a non-rental. But if you go through, the bullpen market is always competitive because you got 22 teams within 5.5 games of the playoffs. The big high-end bullpen needs are with the Phillies, the Mets, the Dodgers, the Tigers, and the Brewers, and the Yankees. Those teams all have bullpen needs, and every team would take another bullpen arm regardless, right? There's not a team that wouldn't take another bullpen arm just for shits and giggles. So who's out there, right? Soto was a nice pickup. Cleveland's got two guys that are likely not going to be traded that are non-rentals, Clase and Smith. Both of them may be available. If they are available, then the Yankees can give up. I would even consider giving up Jones if you can get a Clase because he's just the best closer, right? He's also signed for $10 million for 6.4 for 26. It's $10 million for 27 and $10 million for 28. I mean, you get the guy for 3 seasons and another playoff run. That would be a guy that you could pick up. Other guys that are out there, Minnesota's got Jax and Duran that are out there that could be available if Minnesota decides to sell. Pittsburgh's got Bednar, who was a stud closer, and Santana, who the Yankees shouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole. The Cardinals have Helsley, who's a rental. Kyle Finnegan's with the Nationals, who's a rental. You want no part of him because he's got a high whip. Rockies have Bird and Halverson, who are having great seasons. They scare the crap out of you. The Marlins, who are red hot, have not only some starters that they might want to deal with, but they got Bender and Henriquez. The A's have Miller that are potentially available. They'll still have Batista, Kittredge, Sir Anthony Dominguez, and Cano if they want to make a deal. The Angels have Kenley Jansen, who the Yankees shouldn't touch. Brock Burke, who's having a good year as a lefty, but whatever. And Reed Detmers. There's a lot of guys that are out there, but there's a lot of people who need players. So what the Yankees need to do is just figure out, do they want to get a rental, 2 bullpen pieces or not? Because as I said yesterday, I'm not a fan of Ian Hamilton as a guy that should be in high leverage situations like the 8th inning in the 6-5 game. I also think that, he's a guy that you want to bring in when your starter's struggling and it's like 5-3 in the 4th. He can give you an inning or 2 and maybe keep you in the game. Mark Leiter's too up and down, even though he could be a good 6th inning guy if he's on. They miss Fernando Cruz. Obviously, Weaver has not had the season they want, and Williams has not had the season they want either, but those are their 8th and 9th inning guys. So they definitely need, from my perspective, at least two high leverage, late in the game type arms. The question is, what are they going to give up and who's going to get them? I mean, you don't want a guy like Raisel Iglesias from the Braves. He's shot. He's past his prime. Certainly don't want Kenley Jansen, right? You don't want Rafael Montero. He's another nondescript righty. Greg
Mhm.
Soto was the guy that you really could have eyed. You don't want Jalen Beeks unless you want to go through a whole trading places thing with him. A guy that's interesting is Danny Columbine from the Minnesota Twins. He's a lefty. He's got a high K rate, a low strikeout, a low walk rate, but he doesn't have much postseason experience. He's a rental, so he might not cost that much. That would be an interesting guy to have. Phil Matone, who stunk last year for the Mets in the bullpen in the playoffs. He's a righty. He's in St. Louis having a good year. He was good on the Astros in 21 and 23 against the Yankees. And then Helsley, who's also a rental, who's red hot right now for the Cardinals. And he probably will cost, even though he's a rental, more than Soto cost the Mets. And those are the types of guys that they need to go after.
All
Uh,
right.
so that's,
All right.
that's
So
what's
we will see. We've got how much time until the end? Until
on the
we've
August
got
1st.
6 days.
August 1st is the deadline, I believe, this year. For some reason, it's not July 31st. It's August 1st at 6 o'clock Eastern, which is an
All
odd
right.
to have it. So that
Well, the
means
Yankees got busy today, so we'll see what happens. But I think that they have a lot of work to do.
they
Not
need to get,
happy with.
just so you know, as far as the starter goes, you don't give up any. I mean, unless you're going to get a Cabrera, I don't think they should go for Alcantara because he's not having a good year and it's not worth it at this point to give up something because you're going to have to give up significant prospects. If you can get Cabrera, you might want to give up one of the untouchables like a Rice or even a Lombard if you had to. But you don't want to give up too much, even though those two guys are signed for 2 years plus. Um, but if you're going to get a starter, you want a guy who's going to slot in and pitch in the playoffs, even if he's a rental. Lugo would be your number 3 starter right now. He's a potential guy that would do it, assuming Heel doesn't come back. That would be not a bad guy to get, and he's a rental. There's a couple of other rentals, but we could talk about that as another time. But as far as the starter goes, they shouldn't be giving up anything major if it's a rental, just like they shouldn't be giving up anything major for a rental reliever. But if there's a long-term contract that they're going to take on their own, then they could give up some of these guys. But I wouldn't give up anything special. But they're clearly not going to change the way that their offense is built, as
Nope.
evidenced by the fact that they signed or they traded for McMahon, who signed for another 2 seasons, unless they have every intention of trading him in the offseason, which knowing the Yankees, they don't.
Well, I'm interested to see what some of our colleagues in the blogosphere feel about what this is about this move. I think people will say many of the same things. Lots of good things about this guy on for a short term, not so good on a long term, and some weaknesses that only add to the weaknesses they already had. I would have loved to see a
Doesn't
fast guy with a good
supplement.
glove who doesn't hit home runs necessarily, gets on base. I'd love to see. I would have loved the Yankees to trade for Caleb Durbin again, bring him back. That would have been the deal that would have made me so happy. They're
Well,
never going to do
The
anything. They'd
Brewers are
love,
in the market for a third baseman, so
but they because they're moving him. They're going to move him to second. They know he's a second baseman.
they've got a
That's what
second baseman, but they have a second baseman they like already too.
they're going to move. They love this. They love Durbin. They
Well,
got their seat.
he's the type of guy that they build their offense around. I mean, you got a guy
And that's it. They see him as a leadoff
Christian
man
Yelich.
and at 300. He's
Right.
basically going to be Quan in the infield, and that's what they love.
Christian Yelich steals 25 bases for the Brewers last year, and he had a bad back for what 5-6 years, and he came back and stole 25 bases last year.
Yeah.
And bottom line is the Brewers play a different type of baseball, which keeps them in the game. High contact, high on base, taking the extra base, and fundamentally sound defense.
Yeah, it's
The
known as
Yankees,
baseball. The Yankees don't. It's like, wait for Judge. Judge is going to be up in
it's
9
not just
batters.
Judge.
Let's just
It's
see
not
if we
just
can wait to
Judge.
get there.
It's not just Judge. They're waiting for all of them. I mean, another guy that's a free agent after the season who the Yankees wouldn't take is Schwarber.
Mm-hmm. No, they don't like him.
Yeah, but he's
all right, my friend.
He's
I
better.
have
He's a
to
high
go.
on base, high home run guy.
I've got to run.
All right, I will
I
speak to you this week. We'll figure out what we're going to talk about. Maybe the Yanks will make a
next.
deal. We'll see if Monty Hall's in play. Take it easy, big guy.
All right. Be well, my friends. Take care.